White Sox podcast, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer, and Herb Lawrence. Hello. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. We are coming to you again live from the CHGO studios, and not really after a loss, but kind of after a loss, post game. We didn't do a game last night. Nope, we were at the game for the CHGO Crosstown Takeover event. It was a very fun time. A lot of people out there, even at the Almost Home event pregame, so that was good to see. So we didn't get immediate reactions from last night, so we're going to get immediate reactions from Herb and Vinny to last night's festivities. And then we're going to talk a little bit about also a little bit of last night. You know, Mike Clevinger is going to be a part of the conversation, but the future of the White Sox rotation in 2024, even some of the arms in the bullpen that we're seeing right now, like Declan Cronin and others. And we're also going to talk about, Lane Ramsey.
He's very tall.
I'm trying to think of people who would
very
know,
tall.
Maybe we won't talk. That's probably it on Lane.
Does he have his height on his jersey?
6'8"?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think he's an inch taller.
I think he's 6'9".
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, and why not take that number? And then finally, we're going to talk about Kiley McDaniel of ESPN's ranking of Colson Montgomery and Colson Montgomery's ranking throughout the baseball prospect landscape.
Evaluators.
Yes, evaluators. Yeah. So we'll look at all of those. But let's talk about last night. Herb.
Hello.
Was it fun having Luke Stuckmeyer and Cody Delmendo scream into your ear?
Cody was luckily a row down from me. I know the last time we went to Cub Sox, and he was like sitting literally left of me, and that was taken up by Luke, who is a little bit more subdued and doesn't care about the results as much as Cody does. You know, Cody, if the Cubs lose, totally down. If they're up, he is the happiest person that's ever lived, ever. And if you guys haven't checked out the video that we have on YouTube, the short of Christopher Morel hitting the home run and then Cody and the rest of the Cub fans' reaction, you could see he looks like a kid that just got his gift on Christmas that he wanted for the last 2 to 3 months. But the White Sox season is over, and I would have loved for them to get the sweep in Wrigley Field, to have the BP Cup or whatever they call it now. Wintrust Cup, and then move it on and like take a drink from it like the Stanley Cup, because that would have been
It's not a cup. It's a trophy.
It's like a tower.
You can't drink out of it.
Well, I would have
put stuff in it because they started us as the BP Cup, and I can't change. But I would have loved to have that. We were 3 outs away from that. But for the Cubs to win in that dramatic of fashion, good for them. Really good for them. The excitement of that crowd was a thing I haven't heard before. And I was at the David Bodie Grand Slam walk-off versus the Washington Nationals. Loud, but not last night loud. And so whenever you're a fan of a Cub fan friend tells you, and they don't care about the Crosstown series, you point to last night, and you say, the hell they don't. They care just as much, if not more, about that series. They acted like a fool, which they should have. Congratulations, act the fool as you want, but don't feign interest into this great series just because the White Sox have gotten the better of the Cubs for the most part in this whole series. So I enjoyed most of that because I know the White Sox season was over. The only thing I didn't enjoy, and I don't know if I should talk about it now or when we talk about Gregory Santos, is the pitch selection. And in Vinny's piece, he talks about it a little bit more about how he was pitching to Christopher Morel in that at-bat, and I disagreed with it immediately when I saw the ball going deep. I was like, that's a sinker. Dumb. And then I went back home. I was like, oh, middle sinker. Nice. The one pitch he can hit really hard. Like, does he not watch Christopher Morel ever bat? I know Christopher Morel has 100+ strikeouts this year and 200 plate appearances. How about throwing that slider again? Whatever. Come on, Yasmani. Call the right pitches.
Well, my reaction to the last 2 days, tremendous games. I mean, with the exception of 3 at-bats in the 9th inning, that's probably the best series the White Sox have played all year. Mm-hmm. It was certainly the most entertaining, and you bring up the way that stadium went off when that home run went out last night. A night before, Luis Robert Jr.'s home run brought to mind Eloy's thanks Cubs moment, all those homers Abreu hit in 2020. Obviously, there was nobody in the stands that year. And then how about you go way back, I think it was 2006, that A.J. home run off of Ryan Dempster at Wrigley Field, right?
Good times.
And then a night later, I'm getting all sorts of flashbacks of the oddly high amount of walk-off home runs I've covered at Wrigley Field, despite not being a beat writer covering that team. But I covered the Javi Baez Mother's Day Marathon walk-off, however many years ago that was. Covered a Jason Hayward walk-off grand slam in that stadium. I think it was to beat the Pirates. Another walk-off win against the Phillies, maybe that same season. Again, that place goes nuts. And that's not to say that the place didn't go nuts 2 years ago when Leury Garcia hit that home run in the playoffs at the rate, because I believe you can fit even more people in the rate than you can in Wrigley Field. So if it's a sold-out crowd, there's certainly the amount of people to create that kind of moment on the south side as well. But, I mean, when you get a full house full of people who care about what's going on, the Cubs are chasing a playoff spot, let's not forget. So whether they're playing the White Sox or playing the Pirates right now, every game is very important for them. It's exciting. It's baseball. It's fun. I mean, the White Sox have not had the ability to do that this year, certainly playing those kinds of meaningful games. And last year they were few and far between as well. So meaningful games with a packed house, walk-off home run, I don't think you can beat that kind of atmosphere. It's really just fantastic.
Who has the bigger listed capacity, Wrigley or Guaranteed Rate Field?
I'll say the rate has bigger listed, but I do know that they pack a lot of they used to pack a lot of standing room people in at Wrigley back in the day.
Well, the rate used to be like 40 capacity. Then they took down a bunch of rows. So I would say Wrigley, because they've been consistently at like 38,000.
Capacity for Wrigley listed, 41,649. Capacity listed for guaranteed rate, 40,615.
Okay.
So
very close.
Wrigley, very close. I can pack them in more.
That's weird. Have they added any capacity at Wrigley?
I have no idea.
I think in the bleachers they have.
Or maybe the front rows. Did they add front rows when they redid all the concrete? Did they push the walls in?
Yeah, because the clubhouses and the bullpens or the dugouts are further down the line than they used to be. So I think they did add more.
They're under
seats.
the bleachers. Yeah. The bullpens are under the bleachers now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe they added a few rows right in front there, but. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And then they
chopping off the top of the ring.
Yeah, they took the bullpens out. Yeah, so there's more there, and Steve Bartman can get you more balls there.
Well, and now we have the Miller Lite landing, and the other one, the Blue Moon.
Oh, well, and also too, did the Goose Island chop off a lot of seating at the rate? Because that was just rows of seats for the longest time, right?
Yeah, but there's still seating there.
Yeah, but it's big and wide and spread out. Like I don't think you can pack as many people in as you can that same amount of spot if it just seats. Yeah. I don't know if that makes a significant difference, but I'm just trying to think of when they might have passed. It's a hell of a game.
It was a hell
last
of a game.
night.
Yeah. I gotta fess up. It was very packed, as you know.
Yes.
And we got to a point in the seventh inning where there weren't really seats in our section.
No. Even though we had tickets for those seats, both you and Sarah Cooley, who was one of our salespeople, and she had some clients with her, they couldn't get seats in our section.
How could you not get seats?
Because I think other people were sitting in our seats, and we were too polite to sell people, like, get the hell out of our seats.
Tell them to move.
No one took. No, but I don't know who took our seats. I don't know. I feel like the only people that took my seat was other people from our group.
Yeah.
So I don't know like where our seats stopped and ended. So like I don't know. I feel like
did you not have tickets on your phone to show people that
they
were
sitting in my seat?
Oh, I would have did that, Vinny. I was sitting in my seat. The ticket I was sit the whole time.
Yeah. I was ready to start policing people, but I thought that would be, I don't know.
Like old school Cedric the Entertainer. 4 and 5. Get your ass out my seats.
But no, like some guy came up and he was like, he had a group of like 15. And he's like, oh, we have seats in row 6. And then he walks up to row 9 and kicks everybody out of row 9. And it's like, what? How did this happen? So I don't know if he had like his phone flipped out upside down and was reading row 6 as row 9.
Very well could be.
I don't know.
That's some malarkey right there.
And it was like in the 5th inning too. It was really late. Right. Like for the first time coming to the ball game.
You just showed up in the 5th inning and he's kicking people out.
With a bunch of people, like 20 people. And kicked a whole section of people out.
The back row, too, of the upper deck. Like, I mean, you couldn't go any further. It wasn't like he was getting prime seats, too. It wasn't like he was kicking people out of scout seats. It was the back row. Anyways.
And while we're at Wrigley, that ballpark is great, and it's got the historic feel, whatever. Still, we were in the upper deck, obstructive view. I didn't see any outs at first. Because there was a poll right at first. I was like, I guess I got to just guess and look at the scoreboard and see if somebody got out. Because literally just a I guess roof loading pole right in front of me, and I was like, the stadium's terrible. Whoever calls the stadium number one is blind or has never sat in an obstructive view, which you could do in the 200 level or the 400 level, which we were at.
Pedro said the exact same. Pedro said that he had been to Wrigley Field prior to Tuesday night 3 times prior, twice coaching with the Royals, and then he and his family went as fans one time when he happened to be up here. And he said they walked around the ballpark, they loved it. They were soaking in the atmosphere, and they got in the ballpark, and he was sitting right behind a post.
Welcome to Wrigley. I don't know. I was there for Springsteen. I was fine. I got around fine. When you add more people or more baseball people, like there was just a different vibe from the concert because like less people are out on the actual like concourse.
Were you on the field for Bruce?
No,
I was in a seat.
I was in a seat.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 300s. I was like 325 right, and we were like 425 right. So I was like basically just like a little bit further. But I got lost many times in Wrigley. Like Luke and I went down. He was like, "Oh, they have grilled hot dogs in the bleachers." So I followed the old man, and we walked past the crosstown cup. That's not a cup. And then
Luke touched it and got yelled at.
Yes, and we were posing with it. And we tried to go to the bleachers, and then they like 100 us at the guaranteed rate. Like you need bleacher tickets,
which you should.
So then we started. I was trying to find pizza for Herb. I got lost in the 100 level. I lost my dad, Luke. So then I just got all turned around. So then I went back with no pizza, no hot dog, nothing.
He was lost for at least 2 innings.
Right. And then I came back in like the 4th inning, and then I gave Marcos my seat in the 7th inning. I go down and I sit down in the top of the 8th. The Sox leave the bases loaded, and I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna
game's over.
I'm gonna pack it up. I can't watch White Sox baseball anymore. It just
you left early.
Well, I did. I was just having a pretty rough day, and it just seemed like I texted Herb too, like any seats up there. He's like, no, and I was like, all right, I'll catch you guys later. And I was like, nothing's gonna happen in this game.
I mean,
so I feel like
you won,
Luke.
I should have did that.
I feel like I jinxed the Sox.
You missed the Madrigal homer too, huh?
I think I was walking out as Madrigal hit a home run.
Wow.
So you're welcome, Nick Madrigal. You're welcome, Christopher Morel. I am to blame. The Madrigal one is hilarious. That home run is hilarious. We're going to talk about the Morel one. I feel like that stuff happens, and we're going to have sound from Liam Hendriks about Gregory Santos finding that closer mentality. But I'm all thrown off. We started talking about the Crosstown series, whatever. We'll get out of the way.
Go ahead.
But that Madrigal, like the even though the Cubs hit 2 home runs, the Gavin Sheets home run is the most annoying home run that happened in that game.
Why is that?
And I told you immediately when it happened. I was talking to Mario, like, hey, what is this like Hawks-wise? And he said it's like 2016 Brandon Bullock, a guy that is on the team, and you're not like
blast from the past
against him, right? Like, I don't want to root against Gavin Sheets, but like that's his first home run in 2 months. You're gonna pull this out like 2 months later. Like we're just saying, like, why is he playing? What is his point? And then he
was playing because Eloy was hurt.
That's right. Yeah. And there was a reason to. Yeah. I'm not. But like it's just like and of course he hits a home run. It's like this isn't. I related him to like those long erasers used to get to at the book fair. Like they really never worked because they were just like long and flexible and floppy.
Then they'll break.
But of course he busts out a home run. It's just like where has that been? Like, could you not just uncrank on righties like all the time? Like we had the whole Scherger thing. Jake Berger's been doing fine. He's been able to hit lefties. He's been able to hit righties. Not so much with Gavin Sheets.
That's kind of how I feel about Mike Clevinger's performance last night. I was like, and I know we're going to talk about it later. I was like, man, I wish the Cubs would rough him up a little bit so we can not have this. But nope.
Well, and Cody's like, they're a great fastball hitting team. And he was just throwing fastballs,
and
they were just
96 easy, yeah.
But like the Madrigal one is funny. Like Aaron Bummer doesn't give up a home run in X amount of plate appearances, and then Carlos Santana hits a hilarious slider to right center field, opposite field, off the plate. Like he was bending down to get it. A hilarious home run, and then of course Nick Madrigal revenge game is his second home run, and then the Morel one. Like that stuff happens, but you talk about like pitch selection. Like there was a real reason for that. Like the quote from Gregory in your story on All CHGO was great. The things didn't go my way, and they got the win. I was ahead in the count and threw a good pitch. He didn't swing at it. It's like, well, let's just attack him again. It was a sinker, and he hit it. Asked what he learned from the moment. He said that I have to throw my slider. That's my best pitch. I have men on base, and I was trying to be fancy, and that's what happened. I kind of like double-taked when I saw that quote. I know you were like, oh, well, yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, you see a guy who throws 100, and you just see the way that sinker like dives, especially in that first pitch that he got Morel to swing on. You're like, I'm not upset that he throws a sinker in that moment,
right? And that's what Pedro was talking about after the game, because we talked to Santos first, and he said, I wish I would have thrown a slider, kind of thing. But Pedro's like, yeah, but that other pitch is pretty good too. Right. Like you not only did you see it earlier in that at bat, but like he's been watching it all year, and he's like, he's got two pitches that are really, really, really good. You'd be confident in him throwing any of that. And it's not to say that, you should just be lazily, piping balls or anything like that. But the idea being that that's a pitch that he's used to get people out too, and he could throw both of them effectively.
Well, it's very just classic baseball, power versus power, and it's like this guy's got two pitches. You have to guess right, and hopefully you're guessing right on a 100-mile-per-hour sinker. Like those are tough to hit out regardless. Like I mean, you're always saying like if regular Joe Schmo got 650 plate appearances, he's not getting a hit.
Not anyone,
especially not against Gregory Santos. But Steven, if you want to flash the Groot graphic. I kind of double-taked at the sinker because, again, like I thought it was a good pitch. It's just maybe the location, but just doing research on what pitch modeling thinks of Groot's two pitches, he's right that his slider is a better pitch. On the left of the MLB average is the Stuff Plus average ranking for Major League relief pitchers for their sinker, and on the left is the PitchBot one. So the MLB average for a sinker grades out around 97. Again, MLB average is 100. Oh boy!
All I'm thinking about when I see PitchBot is Mr. Clanky from Backyard Baseball. I am PitchBot.
And Abner Doubleday.
I am going to throw a pitch because I am PitchBot.
We should have Sunny Day on the podcast.
We should.
And Vinnie the Gooch.
Yeah.
But MLB average for sinker is 97 for Stuff Plus. Groot's ranks as 98. Average for that is like very similar to MLB like weighted runs created plus and ERA plus. 100 is technically average, but sinkers are kind of a quote-unquote worse pitch. PitchBot is more on the 20 to 80 grade scale.
I am PitchBot.
So
your pitch is a little above average.
PitchBot activated.
That's why Groot's the MLB average for a sinker is 50. Groot's ranks at about a 55. Then for a slider, MLB average on Stuff Plus is 115. His grades is at 162. And then the MLB average for a slider on PitchBot, 52. Groot Santos, a 72. So
that slider's real good.
That slider's real good. And you see the first slider that he throws, just a diving sinker out of the zone. Morel swings out over it and, strike one. That second pitch is a slider from absolute hell, 92, just whipping across the zone and like barely on the outside corner.
And you saw how he swung at that.
Right. And why wouldn't you, though? Like, that's a perfect pitch. And then the third one is, he thought it was a good pitch. It was definitely more left-handed batter's box than like that tight pitch. So I wouldn't have mind like burying another slider there.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, he saw two sliders. I don't hate throwing the sinker, but you bring up Yaz calling for the sinker. He didn't flash a sign for, like, he didn't flash his glove for him. I think it's just more, all right, Groot, throw it as hard as you can and try to bury it. But again, he didn't bury it. And that's the big thing. It's just like you make a mistake, guys are going to be able to hit 100 if they're geared out for it. So, I mean, I think you just got to tip your hat to Morel because that's the first home run that Groot Santos has given up as a closer. The first homer he's given up since May 22nd. Yeah. So I think that, yes, you could have gone with the slider in that situation. I'm also not scoffing at 100.
Yeah.
Just bury it.
I just think you look at his swings. Like, that's part of Yasmani's job. Seeing how he swung at that first pitch, which is a sinker, at 100. Cool, he's on it. But, he can hit a fastball. And his history, especially recent history this year, he knows he can hit a fastball. He's looking for that. In the game a couple of weeks ago where the Cubs just needed a single, a B-hack. Dude's doing A-hacks the whole time. 0-2, A-hacks. I think it was versus the Mets. So you got to know that he's going for the downs. In that situation specifically, and any other situation, Morel's trying to hit a home run. So which of these two pitches, that's what I got to think if I'm both Groot Santos and Yasmani Grandal. Which of these two pitches can he take out? Can he hit a 92-mile-per-hour slider if I hang it? Yeah, probably. But can he hit my 99-mile-per-hour sinker? That's middle. It's bisecting the plate.
Yeah, but
like, you got to think of those things and how his second swing looked. how much in front of that ball he was, even though it's 92. You got to say, okay, he was gearing up for fastball. He missed my slider by a foot.
Also, you know what? Don't walk the guy ahead of him. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not like he picked one. He did everything perfect, but the one wrong pitch. I mean, he gave up a leadoff double. He walked the next guy, which is even far more egregious than giving up the double or the home run. Don't put the tying run on base, and they're still playing after Morel hits that homer.
Yeah, it's just very I just like slider in that situation. He doesn't swing at it, cool. Or if he throws a sinker and it's high or low, fine. But middle of the plate, nah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is I think you just got to throw that low. I mean, that's the thing is it's on Santos for not burying it. You're right, Vinny, that you got to walk him, or you can't walk him. The guy in front of him, who was that, Swanson, right?
Yeah.
You can't walk Swanson, but you look at the actual pitch itself. Gregory Santos's sinker obviously grades out extremely well velocity-wise at 99 miles per hour, but the vertical movement is 13% better than the major league average. His horizontal is like 20% worse than the major league average. So again, it's like that pitch is going to stay flat if it's up in the zone, and that's what hitters are told. If it's up, let it fly. If it's down, I'd let it go. I don't know what the hell the actual. I know if it's up, let it fly. Yep. But if he buries that down inside like he did the 0-1 pitch, nighty-night, that game's over because Morel's still swinging over it. It's all about that swing plane, and that swing plane's just in the middle of the plate. So if he throws that under that bat, that's strike three. I mean, I have no confidence lost in Gregory Santos, and I feel very similar to the way when Liam Hendriks would make a similar mistake and an elevated fastball would be taken out. You just got to tip your cap. When Daz Cameron takes you out for his first career home run, oh well. I mean, hey, you threw a pitch right in the middle of the plate, and he hit it. Sometimes guys swing and miss at that because you're throwing 100. I mean, I don't know. I think that Groot, it wasn't a great outing, but I don't think I've lost any confidence in him. So
I got to call him Gregory after that loss. He's got to regain his Groot Santosness.
This Crosstown Classic coverage is presented by Hooters. Hooters is your spot to catch all the games this season. Step up to our plate for world-famous wings, delicious seafood, stacked sandwiches, salads, great drinks, specials, and more. At Hooters, it's always easy to pick a winner. They have 11 Chicagoland locations. Visit originalhooters.com for more information. And we were just down in Wrigleyville. It smelled like Sunnyside.
It did.
The entire time. I don't know if someone was just continually smoking marijuana at Wrigley Field, but also even outside of it, just because it's down the block, it smelled like that Mary Jane.
Yeah, putting it in the air.
It's like when Garrett Popcorn pumps out the scent onto the street.
Or the chocolate place, the Blommer Chocolate Factory.
Maybe it was also just
Don't park there, by the way.
Well, the Blommer Chocolate Factory?
Oh, yeah, you'll get your catalytic converter stolen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Happened to me.
I'm about to say, from experience.
We're going to take a break.
Just there?
Huh?
The people from Blommer are just stealing your Cadillac?
I don't think it was Chocolate Factory employees.
That's how we make our chocolate.
yeah, it's possible, but that's how they fund chocolate production.
Yeah.
That's the milk part. It's actually a catalytic converter. It's not milk.
It's like a coconut. You crack it open and real good.
But we're bringing up Sunnyside and Wrigley because Vinny talked to Liam Hendriks at Wrigley Field. We're going to bring that audio to you. There were some quotes in the actual piece as well, but we're going to bring the audio to you because we have the platform to do it. So you're going to hear from Liam on Gregory Santos. Then we'll talk a little bit about the bullpen and the rotation for 2024. But we're going to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. It's your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kind of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. If you're trying to celebrate a Luis Robert home run, or if you're trying to be in the sorrows of your Christopher Morel grieving, Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. It's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, no matter where you are on your cannabis journey. They have easy online ordering and in-store pickup, and great transparent loyalty program, Sunnyside Rewards, so you can get rewarded for buying your cannabis. In Illinois, it's Illinois' favorite dispensary. Our favorite is obviously at Wrigley, where they're pumping out the smell onto the lovely Clark Street. Right?
Yeah.
That's Clark?
Yeah, that's Clark.
Sunnyside House of Brands also includes Mindy, Good News, Cresco, High Supply, FloraCal, Wonder, and Remedy, so you can explore all of the great options that cannabis can offer you. And through August, right now, head to sunnyside.shop and use code CHGO25 for 25% off your total order, one use per customer, and it's not stackable with other promotions. That's not only for new customers. Anyone can use our code, and since it's through August, act fast. Sunnyside.shop now. Use code CHGO 25 at checkout for 25% off your total order. Pick up everything you need to elevate your summer. Must be 21 plus or an Illinois Med Card holder. Also want to let you know about our friends over at Hooters. Again, they are presenting this crosstown coverage. Hooters is your spot to catch all the games this season. Step up to our plate for world famous wings, delicious seafood, stacked sandwiches, salads, and more. They have tons of great beer specials and $6 drinks all day, every day. Check out their seafood specials, $19.83 for a pound of crab legs, and great prices on Buffalo Steamship. Hooters is celebrating 40 years in business all year long, and in honor of their 40 years in business, they are throwing it back on the 4th of every month. Hooters will be throwing throwback events, bringing back the 80s with 83-cent wings and other great specials. The next one is on September 4th. Check out originalhooters.com for more info and to check out their locations of their 11 Chicagoland locations. Let's go to our friend Liam Hendriks. Vinnie Duber chatted with Liam on the field pregame about Gregory Santos, and there's great insight to how Groot has been able to unlock the power that he has been displaying in 2023.
Before I even got here, I was in constant contact with Hass and Katz, and it was a little bit more along the lines of me just trying to get him angry. Because I think there was a game at the start of the year where he started the inning off with a fastball at like 93, 94, and then got a couple guys on, got mad, and sat 100. I'm like, no, that means it's in there. Like, it doesn't have to be. And so I was like, we worked a little bit on that about trying to get him to be angry from the get-go, because there's certain times where you may not have an opportunity to last two batters and then get angry. It may be a thing where you need to get straight from the gate. And when all the trades happen and everything like that, I can't remember who came up to me with like, oh yeah, would you mind talking to him? I think it was Hass came up to me. I was like, look, I'm fine talking to him, but I want the clarification. And so I went and spoke to Pedro. I went and spoke to Katz. I'm like, hey, look, if this is the plan, I can talk to him, but I want to make sure that I'm not telling him to be ready for the 8th or the 9th, and then all of a sudden he's warming up in the 7th. Like, that's not. We need to have a little bit of guidelines here with it all, because at the end of the day, this is a young kid who's finally, he's really getting an opportunity in the big leagues for honestly the first time, like a long extended look. So this is a thing where you need to make sure that if you're going to put him into a role, you need to stick to that role, and unless he starts struggling and all that sort of stuff, that's a whole different ball game. But all I said to him was like, look, whatever you need to do, you need to be ready to go at the drop of a hat, and there's sometimes not going to be time. So as soon as the 8th inning, I did all my pre-workout stuff at the 7th inning. So I would do my visualization and mental stuff all in the 7th inning, and I do anything I need to do before the 8th inning started, because once the 8th inning started, if a couple guys get on, that phone's ringing and you got to get going, and usually you only have a couple batters to get ready. So that was one big thing to him was, look, do whatever you need to do, but once the phone rings, then there's not that you can't start your band work, you can't start anything like that. Then you need to preemptively do it every day around the start of the 8th inning or the middle of the 7th or whatever you need to do. But once that 8th inning starts, you need to be available and ready to get going from the drop of a hat. And he's really embraced it. I mean, he's got the stuff to be out there. He's got the mentality, which is the big thing to be out there. And I was talking to Kurt Hassler about it today. I mean, this is the prime time to get a guy setting up into this role. Is you come in, there's not as much kind of stress innings at the start of the year, and you build up. You build through the leverage. You work towards it. It's you go into the mindset that you earned this. Like, you earned it. You weren't just gifted the role because of an injury or anything like that. You earned this role by the way you were pitching this year, and that's something that he's really taken. And we constantly talk, and I mean, he's opened up his shell a little bit more as the season's gone on, which has been great. But yeah, I always want to make sure that the guy, it's a readiness thing. I mean, there's nothing I can teach him about pitching. He throws a completely different kind of arsenal towards me. He can throw a slider for strikes where I just didn't. So we have a completely different arsenal, but any sort of thing that I can be there for the guidance. That was one of the main reasons I wanted to stick around, and asked Pedro and Katz and Hass and Jerry, like, hey, look, I know it's not normal for a guy who's had Tommy John or had a major injury to be sticking around, but if there's a chance, I feel like I can have some value in this team, especially with the young bullpen we've got, and Gregory's a big part of that, and so I'm just excited that he's taken it over with, and I mean, let's hope as we move forward, it's more the one innings, and he can get into a little bit more of that role. But I mean, necessity comes, especially in a series like this, where you got to go and get 5 outs. You got to go and get 5 outs. It's been there, done that, and it's something that can really take him into the next stratosphere. I mean, he's got the stuff to be able to do it, and he's got the mentality to be able to do it. Then that's come from just the pure confidence he has in his stuff, especially now that he's throwing strikes and taking his A-game stuff as soon as the bell rings.
Great stuff there from Liam, and great stuff from Vinnie to acquire that audio. What did you take away from that kind of talk from Liam about Gregory Santos channeling his anger?
Well, it's what Liam does, right?
Yeah.
He makes it up. It's fabricated. It's not real. Liam's a very nice guy, but he has figured out a way to rile himself up when he's on the mound, and he looks like someone you would not want to come within 40 feet of because you might get hurt, right? So it has worked for him and has helped turn him in to at a recent time, the best closer in baseball, and now you're seeing him try to pass those lessons on to other people. Now, listen, that doesn't always work. Now, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. I remember even when Kendall Graveman's first year here, I believe that was last season, him and Liam were both talking about how it was so nice for Kendall to be there because there were certain guys in the bullpen, young guys, who responded to the way Kendall did things, and there were certain guys in the bullpen who responded to the way Liam did things. So we'll see if Gregory can do that sort of thing and if he responds to what Liam has been saying. But that's the advice that he's giving to a guy who is going to have this job. The White Sox would hope everything goes right for not only the next 6.5 weeks, but really for perhaps the entirety of next season, because Hendriks, we don't know what his situation is going to be with what the Tommy John recovery and what the contract is going to look like after this year.
And I think the one thing, if Groot doesn't, jibe with the getting angry type of thing, I hope he takes the thing that Liam does. I think the best is forget about past performance. Forget about...
And you have to do that. Every closer has to do that.
Exactly. And say, I don't care, I'm still the best. And have that mentality that you are the best on the mound and that no one can hit you. I'm invincible. No one can mess with me. And Groot Santos needs to get into that type of mind frame when he goes to the bump. And maybe he was trying to do that last night and got his, it's like, I'm trying to be too cute, to be too fancy. I'm going to throw 99 past him. And, we got caught up. Now he can say, okay, maybe he caught me that day, but I meet Christopher Morel again. I'm not scared to throw that 99 again, but place it in a better spot.
Right. No, I like the response of just say, threw the wrong pitch. Like, that seems like something that you live, you learn, and, next time I'm out in the, saving a game for the team that's 24 games under 500, I'll make sure I throw that slider and not that sinker.
And that's definitely what Liam, every time he gets a save, he's hyped. He really relishes to win the game and do his job. And I feel like more players need to be like that, because the times when you get hit, you're just walking off the mound sad as hell. You got to celebrate your dubs, and I hope Gregory Santos gets that.
You saw that from him on Tuesday.
Yeah.
He was jacked.
Mm-hmm. The atmosphere is good, and when you do your job as a closer, you got to get hyped up about it.
And I think that's fair to bring up, too. I mean, you mentioned Tuesday. He was used for 5 outs on Tuesday, he's coming back in, and he's throwing, that beautiful night, that slider that we're talking about that he should have thrown. I don't want to say, this is not, this is a setback for Groot Santos or anything. It really just comes down to you got to throw that sinker lower or you got to just throw the slider, because he truly does seem to have blossomed. When he was that Rule 5 pick, we talked about it a little bit because the White Sox made a selection. Usually they're not making selections. We thought there was an interesting connection with Cats. But now it seems like, even Liam Hendriks, it seems like a lot of people in that White Sox clubhouse are like, oh, no, this guy's legit. This guy is the real deal. They found a guy.
Well, I don't think that there's any better example than Liam Hendriks to that whole it takes a certain kind of person to pitch in the 9th inning, right? And I think you see that to a nearly cartoonish extreme when he's on the mound, right? He's the way he's acting and the way he's fist pumping and swearing and all of that. It's like, oh, that's it. That's the hit you over the head example of the kind of mentality you need to have to get outs 25, 26, and 27. So when that guy is telling you that he sees in Gregory Santos the correct mindset that you need to have to succeed in that role, you listen.
Well, and talking about mindsets, I do love Albert Alzolai's mindset. When he's coming in and closing games, that dude's always tweeting like the second he gets into the clubhouse, like Cubs win. Like he gets super pumped and jacked after every single save, and obviously they mean more now that the Cubs are winning more meaningful games. But even the enjoyment that Morel took, like I'm not gonna. I mean, we obviously we got Tim Anderson and the stick talk bobblehead back there. Like the last thing that I'm gonna be upset about is someone showing emotion. But even we see that with Luis Robert.
Robert did the same thing the night before.
This was a great series. It's obviously
that's why we need more.
Frustrating to see them lose, but no, I mean that was
we need them to be in the
baseball.
same division so they can play like 12 times a year. Like who wouldn't love more of this? 4 games just seems so like. I need more. It's like you're getting the appetizer, you're not getting the entree.
Yeah, at least it used to be 6, right?
I mean, it depends on the year if it's 4 or 6 with the Cubs and Sox. But, yeah,
I think moving forward, though, it'll probably be only 4, right? Because now they play everybody.
Yeah.
With the years where they played the NL, or the years when they, I don't know what they were
played
doing.
The NL
but,
Central,
they were. It was changing there for a while, and I think now it probably would just be a consistent 4. But, yeah, I mean, listen, we know that the fans like this. If that's the whole reason you're doing this rearranged schedule thing is to, increase fan enjoyment,
I want a Great Lakes region. I know this is completely off topic.
I got you.
But Minnesota, Milwaukee, Chicago, Cleveland, Cincinnati. I'll count Cincinnati. And then
Detroit.
Yeah,
what about Pittsburgh?
St. Louis and Missouri and Kansas City?
All right, there's too many. All right, the Great Lakes are too big. Never mind.
But Cincinnati can
go down.
They can go
south.
They're more Ohio River than the Great Lakes.
But I was thinking, if we're gonna do Chicago, Cincy, Cleveland,
sure.
But I mean, even Toronto.
Again,
Toronto's on the other side.
I think they're in the same city. People are running into their Cub fan or Sox fan friends all the time, so I understand why the crosstown thing is what it is. But be careful. If you get what you wish for, you don't want it to just turn into, it's another Tuesday night and the White Sox are playing the Guardians for the 15th time. You know what I mean?
True.
Like you don't want to run the
Yankees,
risk of
though.
that. Yeah, but right. They were good for a while.
That's true.
I
mean, I mean, and that's the thing is, right. I think if this was 20, when did both of these teams suck? Like 2012.
Well, when they both good or they both suck?
The Sox. When were they both?
Well, the Sox almost won the division in 2012.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. I just
like
threw out a year. I know that the Cubs were bad. Yeah, right. Like, did anyone care about Crosstown in 2014?
I mean, I'm sure those were things to look forward to for both of the clubs. When they're bad, this series brings out the best of the teams. As Vinnie said, the Sox probably played, in my liking, their best game on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Picked the ball up. Great play by Zach Remillard, both going to his left, deep in the hole, catching that ball on the fly, and then catching that Giasmani Grandal perfect throw to second base to get Dinko Horner. And clutch hitting that happened in the 8th inning by Luis Robert. Great game. Awesome, complete game. And then yesterday, Clevinger throws a 7-inning shutout, and the bullpen gives it up. But otherwise, they only scored 4 runs versus the White Sox. The White Sox only scored 3, so they lose. But I thought both well-played games by the White Sox and Cubs, and the atmosphere was electric yesterday, especially in that 8th and 9th inning. And I hate Nick Magical for hitting that home run because I booed when he got up there. And then when he hit the home run, people were like, that's you?
It's your fault, man.
It's like your man's is crushing home runs, low with sliders, and crushing home runs to the basket.
Here's my advice to you. Leave the park.
Yeah.
Walk out. You don't have to hear it from the Cubs fans.
At that time, I was confident as hell. I was like, 3-1, we're good.
I think
Gregory Santos coming to the game.
I think I said to Marcos, who's in the chat, and shout out to everybody hanging out in the chat. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. We would appreciate it. But where was I going with this? Oh, I think he brought up Madrigal, and I was like, I think he's on the injured list. Like, there's no way he can hurt me today. Didn't know he's on the bench.
Yeah.
There you go. Let's quickly talk about the starting pitcher from yesterday's game. Clevinger went 7 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. We've been having the talk about the 2024 rotation. We've mentioned Jesse Schultens. We've mentioned Tuki Toussaint, who pitched on Tuesday. Clevinger, there's a mutual option for 2024. Who says no?
Well,
like, do the Sox say no to the option? Does Clevinger say no to the option? What do you see playing out with Clevinger, and do you think that he could be a part of 2024?
Well, I think the next few weeks are very important in terms of that decision-making process, but I'll just say this from the clubhouse, from what Mike Clevinger is telling us after starts, really within the last couple weeks, he finally feels healthy. And I mean, again, that's the story of half the people on the White Sox roster is that their season was derailed by injuries, but a guy who is finally feeling like himself is finally pitching the way that the White Sox hoped that he would, right? And you've seen back-to-back just really, really good games from him. 13 innings, 1 run over the last 2 starts. Last night was his first 7-inning game this season for the White Sox. First time he's completed 7 innings in a White Sox uniform. So it's only 2 starts. If he goes out there next time and gets lit up, then the conversation changes again. But I think over the course of the next few weeks, you're going to see a determining factor in what the White Sox want to do on their end of that. I think if you get the guy that you've got in the last 2 starts, if you're confident that he can come back in 2024, you got to pick up that option because that's looking like a bargain at $12 million, a relative bargain, as I always like to point out when I'm talking about the immense amount of money that baseball players get paid. But when it comes to what Mike Clevinger might want to do, if he tears it up here over the next month and a half of baseball this season, don't you think there's going to be a team coming knocking, willing to give him more than $12 million just to pitch next season and perhaps in a multi-year fashion? So Mike Clevinger probably staying mediocre was probably the thing that you might have wanted to hope for in terms of them being able to come together and say, oh, let's give this another go. Him going dramatically in one direction or the other probably causes one party or the other to say, no, thank you.
And Fred says my thoughts on him as a person. I don't want him on the team next year, but we're not discussing that. We're discussing who's going to be saying no. I think Mike Clevinger will say no. But he's in a precarious situation where he's known for things off the field. The pitching's been pretty decent this year. I got to admit, he's been awesome the last 2 starts and better than I even expected. So I think he opts out thinking he can get more than $12 million in the open market, which he should, because he looks like the Mike Clevinger that left the Cleveland Guardians in like 2018 or 19. He's back to good form. But the White Sox are bent over a barrel here. They have to have major league starters, and if you see that last night and you see the start that happened before that, all the starts after he's come back from the injury list, you would say, okay, that works for us as our number 2 starter next year. Have Michael Kopech as our 3, and all we got to do is pay him $12 million. Bet money, we're in.
And it's just, and that's the thing too, is really just when you talk about the White Sox decision-making process here, God, they need so much pitching.
Oh, my God.
And so if you can go into the offseason needing to fill 2 spots in that rotation versus 3, that's a big deal.
Exactly. And so I'm thinking that I hope that he opts out and that the White Sox pay him fair market if they want him to come back as the White Sox. But I don't see both of them saying, yeah, $12 million next year, we're good, especially Mike Clevinger, especially how well he's been pitching. If he gets to, he's still not over 100 innings for the year, so that's another part of my hesitation. He's been hurt a lot this year. But when he's pitched for the White Sox, he's been pretty steady and pretty good for them.
Yeah, looking at run value for his pitches, 4-seamers at a 6, sliders at a 4, changeups at a 4. Last time he's had 3 pitches with a run value higher than 4 was 2018. 4-seamer was at a 4, slider was at a 14, curveball was at a 4. I still don't know if I'm buying it because while that fastball run value's been good, it's still been hit hard when it is hit, near 40% hard hit rate, slugging's near 460. I don't know. I don't know if we've seen enough of him. He hasn't pitched 100 innings yet,
no, he's
right?
not.
Oh, no.
So,
he missed a long time.
Yeah.
He missed a big
Months.
portion of this season. And you're absolutely right that we haven't seen this the entire time that he's pitched this year. I think leading up to the last couple weeks, I'd probably describe him as fairly mediocre, right? But he's looking really good the last 2 starts. If that is the start of a trend, it's one thing. But that's why I'm saying you got to keep watching over the next 6 weeks here because it can go in one of several ways.
Yeah, and to go to a little bit about what you're saying, Herb, and what the chat's talking about, I I do wonder when they signed him, obviously we weren't talking about the off-the-field stuff, and then that stuff came out in December, right? So he signed in November, came out in December. I do wonder if that plays into the option as well. But even then, I feel like Rick has been, and Pedro has been fairly complimentary of Clevinger in the clubhouse. And I think Rick said last time at the deadline, talking about, we want people who are good people, I think, in the clubhouse, right? Like they're looking for, I forget the exact phrasing.
It's been a priority of theirs, stated priority of theirs for years now, that they very much value the character and the way that guys are off the field, off the stat sheet, I should say, right? Certainly there's been a greater microscope over that for the last few weeks, as the whole behind the clubhouse door stuff has really been, picked apart from because of what Keenan Middleton said. But you're right. I think that what I go back to is the idea of the communication between the parties on that front when those contract negotiations were going on during the offseason, right? Because the White Sox showed up to spring training, and it was, we had no idea of this. Right. We had never heard of this, not until after it was all done. And so certainly Rick was acknowledging some of the previously known off-the-field stuff that were, of far less I'm not even sure what word to use, but the immaturities,
investigations,
right? The immature stuff that he was talking about. So they went ahead and they made that deal, knowing about those things. That there were things. He called it a calculated risk. Remember, they did know about other things that had to do with that character type front, but obviously that has changed since when they signed the contract to even now, regardless of what their needs might be and what they feel about after having him on the team for a year. All that stuff kind of goes into it when they make a decision moving forward, but it might not even be a decision that results in him coming back, as you explained, Herb.
Yeah, and I think that the only way that Mike Clevinger doesn't opt out of the contract is that he sees that his off-the-field stuff, allegations, and somebody brought it up. It's like, they're just allegations, and yes, Major League Baseball just assigned him to like anger management and counseling to get in his baby's mother. I don't want to call him baby mom. It sounds so weird. The mother of his child didn't want him to go to jail, didn't want him to get into trouble, just wanted him to get the counseling that apparently he's supposed to be getting this year. And so he might see that and say, you know what, that whole off-the-field stuff might scare away other teams that would have been signing me for $15 million a year. So I'll take my 12 here, reestablish my market again, and then go on the free agent market the year after type of thing. But that would be the only way I would see Mike Clevinger not opting out, because if he's pitching like this all the way through, somebody's going to be looking to him and say, oh, Mike Clevinger's back.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's two big things as we learned in baseball. There's Nick Madrigal. We learned from him, revenge game. It's a very big storyline. If you're going up against your former team, it is written in stone that you either hit a home run or have some big moment on the mound, and there is contract year. So this is technically a contract year. If he is feeling his healthiest and he's having this type of results, like 18 innings, and I think those last 18 innings, guys have like a batting average of like 200 against them. And right now, you look at the last three starts, if it is him feeling his healthiest, his fastball is above average, according to Stuff Plus. That's at 100 for starters. It's at 93. And his slider's a little bit below average still. Average Stuff Plus for a slider for a starter is 111. His is at 106. But, I mean, I could see if the White Sox could talk themselves into agreeing into that mutual option, I could see another club talking themselves into it as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if Clevinger is going to be a Sox in 2024. I think it all depends on how he finishes the season. But if it's like these last three starts, I could see him opting out and taking the bet on himself in a 33-year-old free agent season. Because, again, with a pitcher, you never know when that arm might go, and you might have another injury. Because, again, he's talking about the healthiest he's been. He's dealt with groin, arm, everything. If he could, again, secure more money, that's usually what players look to do. So we'll see if Clevinger opts in. It still might be the Jesse Schultens and Tuki Toussaint show next year in the rotation, because Clevinger might play his way out of the contract. let's take another break, and then we'll talk a little bit about what Fred just brought up. Did you see someone at ESPN went crazy and said Montgomery was the number 2 prospect in MLB? We'll talk about that crazy person after the break. Want to let you know about our friends over at Shady Rays. Take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. They have durable frames, extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures, and they look real good.
Yeah, they do.
They look smooth. You look smooth.
You do too.
Mercy. That's not all. Shady Rays offers the most safe
They're
protection
looking
program.
like Jake and Elwood over here.
You want to go to Cal Fisheries and drive over a bridge? If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. You can wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after your purchase. If you don't love your Shady Rays, you can exchange it for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized shades. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
Before we go to the next read,
yes, feel free.
I'm going to make Vinnie mad at me again.
Careful. The last time you did this, I wasn't in studio. I couldn't react.
Oh, this is bad, Vinnie.
You're going to tell me you don't like the Blues Brothers?
It's not that I don't like the Blues Brothers.
It's that you've never seen it.
There
Wow.
It is. Yeah. There
Wow.
It is. I remember working in sports radio, everybody and their mama loves the Blues Brothers.
I mean, it's a phenomenal movie.
And Caddyshack, which I haven't seen either.
Yeah, I've never seen Caddyshack.
Also very good.
So I have to cut up all these things, all these little quotes
right.
and all these things from people. Like, I don't know where these things are at.
See, here's
like,
the thing,
I've watched the Aretha Franklin part of that. I've watched the James Brown revival thing because we used that for Justin Fields. And then the Illinois Nazi thing too. I've seen those parts, but the full movie. I don't know if it. It's
very good. It's very funny, and I think you would like it.
Yeah?
Because it's funny. There's like jokes throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
It's not just like an excuse to get from one song to the next.
I mean, I didn't.
Sometimes the plot is, but it's still funny.
I mean, I didn't watch Blazing Saddles for a long time, and once I watched it, I was like, all right, I get it. It's really great.
Yeah, right.
So Blues Brothers, I don't know.
Blues Brothers is up there, yeah.
In that same.
Yeah. Yes.
What about Caddyshack?
Caddyshack is, but it's not as good as Blues Brothers in my opinion.
All right.
But it's still very good.
But people told me about Hoosiers being great, and I did not like Hoosiers,
But Hoosiers
at all.
isn't funny.
No.
Hoosiers is not funny, right?
So you either-
Nor are there any good songs in it.
Yeah. Well, and it's like 1940s basketball, which historically is like the worst basketball to watch.
Yeah.
Chest passes all the time.
We're going to pass it left, then right, then left, then right, then left. And then you're going to come behind me, and then we're going to pass it to you, and then you're going to pass it back to me, and then we're going to go left, then right, then
Final
left, then
score,
left.
13-12.
And the Bears
What a
win.
great job by Milan.
They took 6 shots total. Let's let you
They
know
had to
about
fish it out of the peach basket.
They used a pole to pop it out.
Yeah. That really takes up a lot of time.
We want to let you know about the DraftKings pick of the week. A bantamweight battle for the belt is going down during UFC 292. Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley will fight for the title this Saturday. Will the current champ keep his crown, or is it the challenger's time to shine? Get your bets in on DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. New customers can bet just $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. The upcoming fight is a big one. Aljamain Sterling, the defending champion, is taking on Sean O'Malley, who is one of those personalities, one of those guys that just has confidence oozing off of them. 15-1 O'Malley is. Aljamain Sterling 34, and he's been through a long road in his MMA career, but he's 23-3. I like the champ to retain his belt. I don't know about you guys. Seems like you guys don't watch UFC, but Aljamain Sterling, first, he's from New York, so I like that New York toughness. But I also think that O'Malley is more of a striker. Aljamain Sterling more of a ground guy. I think Aljamain Sterling will be able to, take him down and be able to kind of just win it by decision. So I'll give you Aljamain Sterling as the winner, but also if you want to get crafty, Aljamain Sterling to win by decision, not a bad bet. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code CHGO. New customers can bet just $5 on UFC 292 to get $100 in bonus bets instantly. That's this Saturday, only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Do I have to read the disclaimer?
Yes.
I do?
Yes.
Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 1-800-77-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races, all games regulated by the West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly. In Connecticut, help is available for gambling problem. Call 888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/MMA terms.
There you are.
We didn't get that. Can we do that again?
We're going to go to the prospect world because...
Don't I get something after winning that auction?
I don't know what you bid on.
I thought I'm coming out of an auction, and I think I probably won, right?
I didn't hear anybody bid anything. There's no here.
Wasn't that what you were doing that whole time?
I don't think so. I don't know. You
Wow.
And you won the ability to watch UFC 292 on Saturday. You don't have a pick?
Sean O'Malley for me.
Yeah,
But
why?
of course.
Because it's who I didn't pick.
Yes.
I'll take Thomas O'Malley, the alley cat from the Walt Disney animated feature, The Aristocats.
I think you'll lose that bet. Let's go over to the prospect world. Right now in Double-A, Colson Montgomery has played 9 games, and even though the batting average is at 179, an on-base percentage of 465.
Ooh, that's good.
And a slugging percentage of 357, so the ISO's good. When he is hitting for power. And the big story, though, is where Kiley McDaniel of ESPN, as Fred called him, the crazy person, ranked him on his mid-season prospect rankings. So Kiley McDaniel had Colson Montgomery as the second best prospect in Major League Baseball.
Look at him up there.
14 prospects with a 60 future value. You like that?
He's just hanging out up there.
I don't know who the photographer was from spring training, but credit to them. They got a nice shot of Colson just gleaming over the dugout.
Over your graphic.
Yeah.
Kilroy was
just
here.
hanging out.
Colson
shrunk him.
Yeah, he's tiny. Honey, I shrunk Colson Montgomery. Kiley McDaniel writes, though, about Montgomery. This is an aggressive ranking, but nobody I spoke with Montgomery has Montgomery outside of their top 10. Most have him in their top 5. Montgomery has a shot to be a plus hitter with plus power and play shortstop in the big leagues. So the idea is similar to Jackson Holliday, but you see the differences if you watch them. Montgomery is bigger and stronger at 6'3", is one notch slower on the bases, and will probably settle at third base eventually, but he's in the Corey Seager range of size, speed, strength, and feel. He could thread the needle and be the best of both worlds. And if we look at the rankings of the prospect world, again, second at ESPN by Kiley McDaniel, Aram Layton of Just Baseball has him ranked 15th. MLB Pipeline, their team has him ranked at 17th. Keith Law of The Athletic has Colson Montgomery ranked 21st. Eric Longenhagen of Fangraphs has him ranked at 21st. Baseball America's team has him ranked at 30th. Joe Doyle has him ranked at 31st. And Prospect Live has him ranked at 33rd. So obviously vast ratings here for Colson Montgomery, going from all the way to 22nd to outside the 30th. Let's first go to Vinnie. You've gotten word from not only Chris Getz, Mike Shirley, but Rick Hahn. What is their view of Colson Montgomery?
They think he's good.
Okay.
I'm sure they're dancing in the streets, or maybe they don't care at all, that the idea that he's the number 2 prospect in baseball in some evaluations. But listen, this is a guy who I think everybody thought as far back as last year was going to be a cornerstone of the future. Now, we don't know exactly when that will be. Him being at Double-A right now kind of, brings up the idea that he might be able to arrive at some point next year. But, I think the big thing there was the position, right? Was he going to be able to stick at shortstop? He's a tall guy, and you don't know about that kind of thing. But if everybody's looking around saying, yeah, he can do it, that's why that value is so high, because if you're a good shortstop with a big old bat, you're going to get a whole lot of money somewhere down the road. This is good news for the White Sox, obviously. I think you probably can look at even better news when you look at the system as a whole jumping up in these rankings a little bit, and a lot of the guys who are responsible for that, they just acquired earlier this month at the trade deadline. So it's that fact that there are now some of those guys to look at. Now, on one hand, the fact that we're looking at them at all speaks to the state of the Major League team and how disappointing that has been. So obviously that we're talking about prospects right now is something no one wanted to be doing. But if we're going to talk about prospects, it should be different than when we were talking about them as recently as last year, being one of the lowest rated systems in baseball, really having no one to be excited about past a couple of names. There are a lot more names now, and I think you look especially at that Double-A roster, and you're going to see a lot of guys who they're not all going to come up. They're not all going to come up and be all-stars, but to be able to have those guys that could be one day part of that rotation. I mean, we're looking right now, right ahead to next year, and saying who in God's name is going to fill the starting rotation for them outside of a couple of guys that are already at the major league level. You look to the year after that and the year after that, and suddenly there's the potential to have many, for that need to go completely away because you've got them coming up through the minor leagues. So I think on the starting pitching front is where you really got to be excited. But again, if Montgomery is going to be one of those can't-miss guys, that's good. But hey, there's a bunch of can't-miss guys on the major league roster right now who have contributed to a team that is more than 20 games below 500.
And if you look at those Double-A numbers, you're not overly impressed by it because, as you said, the average is a little low, but he's getting on base. And the reason he's getting on base is because he walks. He has more walks now in Double-A as a 21-year-old than strikeouts, which is impressive no matter where you're at. Like, these guys are 5 to 6 years older than he is as a 21-year-old.
Right now, the age difference is 2.7.
2.7. So 3 years older than the guy, and he's still having pitch recognition, knowing what they're throwing at him, and understanding where the strike zone is at. And so to have more walks than strikeouts as this young of a player tells me he's at a disciplined bat, and that's what the White Sox need. They need a guy who's not necessarily hitting home runs all the time, but I think he's only got 5 in the short amount of time he's been in baseball this year. But we know that's going to play. We know he's going to hit home runs when he gets up to the major leagues. As they say, he's a Corey Seager type. And if he's anywhere near Corey Seager, the White Sox got a gym there.
Not to pat myself on the back, but I did bring up the Seager comp a bit already, and it was mainly just because they were drafted in similar spots. It is the left-handed build. They're both tall, but we've seen Seager play shortstop his entire career. It really just seems like he's likely going to be, I would think, on the White Sox in 2024 at some point. It might not be to start the season, but I would think May, June, July, he would force his hand to make that jump. But it's really about the position.
But who's he kicking off?
Well, right. Like, is it after TA's traded in the midseason? Like, if that happens and he plays shortstop, we know Moncada's obviously going to be on the team in 2024, so he's likely going to be third base. But, hey, Yohan Moncada said, I'll do whatever the White Sox want me to do. And if Yohan Moncada is playing his last year in Chicago, what's the point of having him at third base if you think Colson Montgomery is going to be your future third baseman? So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Colson. But if he continues to play this way, if he continues to show that plate discipline, he's still showing power when he's making contact. It's just about increasing that contact rate, which I think will happen for him. I don't really think there's a reason for him not to be on the team in 2024 at some point.
Well, I just think there's a little ways to go still. You know what I mean? Like the idea is that you get promoted after you've mastered a level. And while certainly he seems to have, thrived in certain areas, there are other certain areas that, and again, I'm just hearing about the numbers. We don't know what they think of his, plate discipline, pitch recognition, defense, all of that stuff that we can't easily see on the baseball reference page. They like their guys to master all of those elements before they move them up and give them a new challenge. So that's a recent promotion. He hasn't played that many games. It's just maybe you finish out the string at Double-A. Then if you're able, then if he has mastered all those things by the end of this season, then it start at Triple-A, or is it though? You know what I mean? So we're gonna just have to see what he does the rest of the year. Exactly how they're talking about him when the season is over before we can kind of start projecting an arrival date. I think he's if we were talking about somebody who's in AAA already and they were struggling but they had time to figure it out, then it's like, oh, AAA, he's on the doorstep kind of thing. But there's some time. Let him figure all this stuff out. I don't really ever think that you can point to a prospect and say there's a rush, they need him there now, because if he's not killing it at a certain level, what is he going to do for you at the major league level? We've seen. I don't even need to talk to you about Eloy and Moncada and Kopech and some of these other guys who have yet to live up to the hype. All I got to do is tell you Oscar Colas this year. was dominating AAA. They brought him up. He's not hitting at all. So, or he's only hitting a little bit. You know what I mean? Right. So they needed Oscar Colas this year, and he showed them he was ready, and it turns out he's still not able to get the job done at the major league level.
That's fair. I do think that if Colson was called up, though, I don't think it's because they're forcing anything. I think it's just because he's continuing to play the way that he is. I think that you bring up the stuff about mastering all that stuff, and we don't know exactly how well he does against certain pitches. Obviously, Oscar Colas can hit a fastball, but we're not really sure how he can do against major league level secondary pitches, and we're not sure how Colson will do as well with that stuff. But I mean, you can look at 2022. He had 420 plate appearances. Right now, he's at 170. He probably won't even hit like 350 this year because of the injury, because of the delay. So I mean, it is an abbreviated season for him, so that could also cause delays in him coming up. But at least personally, if he continues to do this, and you see the growth from last year, 2022, 54 walks, 83 strikeouts, and that's spread out between single A, advanced A, and double A, and you see this year the same rankings, basically a little bit of time in rookie ball, some time in advanced A, and then obviously 9 games so far in double A, but 41 walks, 30 strikeouts. He has been able to seemingly master the strike zone, or at least do a good job of discerning which pitches to swing at and which pitches he can actually do damage against. So it will be very intriguing to watch the growth of Colson Montgomery till the end of the season, because obviously he's not going to be up here in 2023. So we could still watch his growth at Double A and see how he continues to perform with the Barons.
And the last thing, I just want, as I want it with Oscar Colas, let him absolutely make the call on if he gets called up. He's killing AAA next year. He's hitting all these home runs. His plate discipline's all this. His glove is plus. And he's like, hey, there's nothing else I could do to this garbage league. I'm tearing it up. Call me up. If he doesn't have that next year, so be it. He's 22 next year. Let him go another year and as a 23-year-old. Like, there's no rush to get him up there, even though the team is not good. Let the kid, even though he's the number 2 prospect, tell you when he's ready by his absolute dominant play. And I want him to struggle a little bit, like he has with the bat a little bit this at a Double A, but he's actually walked a lot. So I see where he could bounce back from a struggle, how he attacks the pitchers after he does struggle. That's why I like 1,000 to 1,500 plate appearances in the minor leagues. Then you get a well-rounded number for you to see, hey, how'd he do there? How'd he do in this stretch? And it's a good amount of at-bats down there, and he's young enough to get that amount of bats, and I don't think the White Sox will be rushing him, especially with what they saw out of Colas this year. They'll be rushing him next year to get on the team, unless he says, I'm just better than AAA. You need to call me up now.
How old was he when he graduated high school?
Montgomery?
He was drafted in 2021.
Like 19?
Okay. Is he 21 right now?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know how to do math.
I think he was one of those players, like, I think his birthday's early in the year, so it's like...
Yeah, February.
Yeah, so that's when he probably was... had to be 19 when he was a senior.
Yeah, he'll be 22 in February 27. So we'll see with Colson. But the one thing too that sticks out, at least this year, against older pitchers, this is a split on Baseball Reference. 306 average, 514 on base percentage, 551 slugging percentage, an OPS of 1065. I understand what other Sean's saying, and you're saying don't rush him up. I'm obviously not saying rush him up. But also, and I get your plate appearances like benchmark thing as well, but the kid could play. I don't know. I also don't know if I want to see him in Charlotte, because it just seems like
skip it.
I mean, we all we hear about Charlotte is
AA.
just that there's better pitching in Double A, that there's nastier stuff in Double A, and obviously Charlotte is kind of a tough way to get a bearing on somebody because it's such a bandbox. I mean, Tim Beckham went down there and like lit it up for the Knights. So I don't know. I think that we'll see with Colson. There's a lot to write. But you mentioned all the talent down in Birmingham. Nick Nastrini had a nice night, 6 innings pitched. Edgar Carroll the night before, 2 home runs and a walk-off homer. So a lot to pay attention to in Birmingham. Maybe we need to call up Kurt Flood and talk a little Barons soon.
Maybe we need to take a trip down to Birmingham. CHGO Birmingham.
I'm not against it. No, Steven's shaking his head. You don't want to go to Alabama?
Not particularly, no.
Why?
BAMA. That's what they would. That's what our Alabama branch would have to be called.
That's what Jordan played at, Steven.
Yeah, Roll Barons, right?
Yeah.
Why did he play there instead of single A?
Because he's much better than single A.
No, because they needed the space for the press. That's what they said in the last
name. Bought a new bus too.
Anyways, that's going to do it for.
We want to bring up TA real quick.
Oh, let's bring up TA. You're fair.
Tim Anderson got his suspension knocked down to 5 games. He threw an apology out on Instagram, which I think we do have a thing there, so I can't read it from here.
I can read it.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it. So TA said on Instagram, I want to apologize to the entire White Sox organization, my teammates, manager, and coaches, and to the fans for my part in the altercation which took place in Cleveland. This has been an incredibly disappointing season for me personally and our team. I will not get into the things that were said to me by Cleveland players both Friday and Saturday, but those comments do not excuse my language or conduct, and I take full responsibility for my emotions getting the better of me. The Cleveland players are free to say whatever they want, but I will just say that no one has more respect for the game of baseball than me. I look forward to returning after serving my suspension and finishing the season playing the best baseball I can to help my team. Signed, Tim Anderson.
He'll be out for this weekend series in Colorado. We'll talk more about this tomorrow, I'm sure. But yeah, he could be back by the 3rd game then of that Seattle series next week at home.
Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. We will cover the pregame tomorrow as they go to DNVR. So we'll have a pregame at 6:30.
It's a 7:40 start.
Correct. It is. Yeah.
So
7 p.m. pregame.
7 o'clock pregame. Then we'll have a postgame for you.
Damn weird ass DNVR people. Damn time zones.
Very odd. I mean, they have 40,000 people and none of them watch the game. Is what I hear. It's
the
biggest
ballpark.
bar.
It's an awesome bar.
Pins and Aces, though, we'll wrap up on this. Pins and Aces is the official golf apparel partner of All City and CHGO. We love our Pins and Aces gear and are very excited for our golf outing, the CHGO Kickoff Classic on August 25th. Pins and Aces is going to be helping supporting us. All players will be getting a CHGO Pins and Aces golf towel as well with the ticket sign up. They're a family-owned golf and apparel business. They make amazing polos, hats, golf bags, and our favorite beer sleeve, an innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf bag and keep drinks cold the entire round. So check out pinsandaces.com and use code CHGO to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com. That's Vinnie Duber. Follow him at Vinnie Duber and make sure you read his work at allchgo.com. He's got a piece about Gregory Santos taking over the closer role and what Liam Hendriks had to say about that. Also about Luis Robert Jr.'s massive home run on Tuesday. So if you're looking to catch up, check out allchgo.com. And thank you to Hooters for supporting our crosstown coverage. CHGO Crosstown Classic coverage is presented by Hooters. Hooters is your spot to catch all the games this season. Step up to the plate for their world-famous wings, delicious seafood, snack sandwiches, salads, great drink specials, and more. At Hooters, it's always easy to pick a winner. 11 Chicagoland locations. Visit originalhooters.com for more info. That's Herb Lawrence. Follow him at EcknerWall23. Follow the show at CHGO_White Sox, and you can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to everyone for hanging out, and make sure you hit that thumbs up button. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.